scene, and is that part of what movement is trying to get away from, is to try to help us build stronger models of unity within our diaspora?
Absolutely. I think there's a great need for being able to bridge our peoples and everything that it has to do with our communities. Yes, in the past, and I agree with you, we've seen a lot of that disconnect. It was just kind of sort of, this is, Ethiopia town, or this is such and such town, and everybody was kind of sort of like in their own kind of sort of pockets. But, but when we suffer as a people, there's no borders, right? There's no minority group that is going to probably be well off than the other. Well, at the end of the day is that some of these, policies, whether it's economic policies, affect us, all us as brown people. And it doesn't matter whether you're from Africa or the United States. You're all going to be affected. Whether it's you hear, I'm an activist sort of CEO. I speak my mind, and in social issues and injustices. I have kids here who were born here, and I have my I have a 12-year-old son. I worry about him, every day, just like any other parent. And we hear about police brutality and the whole 9 yards. It don't matter whether you're from Africa or you're from America. You definitely, as I said again, in the eyes of police brutality, you're brown folk, chances are you're going to be discriminated upon or profiled or shot and killed, right? So right. I feel like there's a great need for us to unify as a people. I speak on these issues a lot, and I want to make sure that then I'm using my position wisely and know that when it comes to social issues and social injustices, we need to stand united, and I think it's important. It's more than ever, and I'm seeing a rise in that unity. I'm seeing a lot more, brothers and sisters out there elected into office, and I think change needs to happen, right? Change needs to happen in our communities. Young people of color. We need to go out there and vote. We need to partake in the electoral process. We need to be partaking in our local politics. We need to be conscious. We can't leave everything to chances like some higher power that's going to, or maybe, some divisions, because I feel like that's what the system is designed to do, to separate us. But I think, we're stronger in numbers, and I think I can see the change happening.
Yeah, because that's one of the things I was going to say. Is it seems to me that we sometimes fell into the stereotypes that, we would look at what the images of Africa were on TV, not understanding the history of Africa and even the rich history
right.
that is from the continent, right. that a lot of the major inventions of the world came out
right.
of Africa and everything. But, if we read the history books and read the textbooks, we wouldn't necessarily right. believe that. Just like, if you
right.
read even though there can be no doubt that no matter what religion you are part of, most of the world's religions, the center
right.
of the religion is based in Africa. I mean, Jesus
yeah.
was there in Jerusalem, and last time I checked, Israel and Egypt were definitely part of Africa, and the same with some of the other religions. Muhammad was based in parts of Egypt and everything. So maybe, and if they weren't in Africa, they were nearby. Because, like I said, Buddha might not have been in Africa, but he was in India.
Right.
India was only like a hop, skip, and a jump away from Africa.
Right, exactly. I mean, it's a cradle, of mankind. I mean, we all know that. And I wish that it was taught in, in the American history books more often. We're strong folk all around, and I think whether you're African American or African from that continent of Africa, man, we have a lot to be proud of. And it's an amazing time to be a part of the changes that are happening, whether it's here in the U.S. amongst our communities and across Africa.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, we're even seeing a lot of entrepreneurs that are coming out of Africa, and like you said, some of them are even reaching out to other parts of the community. I remember one of the things that was mentioned in an email that was going between me and your business partner and everything was the fact that you were putting together some sort of new initiative. So I don't know if you can share that initiative or what that initiative will be about, but it sounds like it's going to be about trying to unify some of our communities is what it sounded like it was about.
Absolutely. So basically, where we saw some of the opportunities here is that, where our sweet spot is as a movement, as I said again, is that we're looking at the fact that there's an ongoing, the growth in mobile adoption and the lack of technologies. I think movement for the first time has the opportunity for the first time to be able to be a pioneer of mobile-to-mobile services in the continent of Africa. 1.3 billion people in total. That's the size of that, India or China, right? So we look at it as an opportunity to not only bring these mobile-based services, but what else can we do with all these folks that are out there, whether it's in a tuk-tuk or motorcycle taxi called boda-bodas or vehicles out there in the continent. So I figured that, okay, can we also do fulfillment services and become like the Amazons of Africa? Because, we got large strategic partnerships happening out there. But no more so to kind of sort of like take that model, duplicate it, bring employment, change the lives of the brothers and sisters in the continent of Africa, but then also going out there and saying, what are we doing here at home as well, and being able to push into initiatives into teaching young men and women of color, tech, and being able to fund programs that can really kind of help foster the new generation of young entrepreneurs and technology entrepreneurs in our African American communities across the country. So there's a lot of things that are in store, and as I said again, it's an exciting time, and this year and in the coming year is going to be even much more greater for us as we continuously expand into the U.S. and as well as Africa.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like it would be a very positive kind of development. Because it sounds to me like you heard us earlier. I don't know if you were listening to any of it, but you heard us talking to Alila Bundles, and she was talking about some of the people that her ancestors were connected to, and of course one of them was of course a connection to Marcus Garvey. And it sounds to me like you are carrying some of the fruition of what Marcus was trying to do almost more than 100 years ago into the 21st century, because Marcus Garvey was definitely trying to bring more of our business and more of our technology from here to there. He wasn't the only one. I think Frederick Douglass had even talked about some of the shared kind of things that we could do with our African brothers from that era and everything. Right. And, of course, there were others as well. But it sounds like you are actually learned from history and are actually following up and are taking that history to another level.
Absolutely. And, we learned from the greats, right? Marcus Garvey and the likes, man. You think about it, these people were inspirational in our communities, and they were able to go out there and, as I said, dare and, bring this change and see the vision in the sense that, we're very capable people. It don't matter which industry is out there, who you're against, but, we know that we're capable, and it's just a matter of creating those opportunities. Nelson Mandela is celebrated all across, right? And he was the leader of, South Africa, an African country. But we all celebrate him because he was able to bridge all sorts of people from all different parts of the world and cultures, right? And, so we're talking about the fact that, one of the things I just mentioned recently in a talk, and I said, it's not about money. It's about being able to create a change within our people and our communities. And the legacy is what it's all about. And it says, what can you create? And changing the trajectory of our people and our culture, and all across from here, and as I said again, in the U.S. to the continent of Africa. So I see a greater vision and in the saying. And one of the things actually I want to add is that I've been telling my team out there in Africa, and actually this is something that it's in the works, is that while I was out there in Africa, I hired a whole bunch of young men and women from local universities, and now they're going through a dev boot camp. And one of my biggest pushes is to, and one of the visions that I came about, I envisioned was, hey, technology consumption, at least particularly on the Africa side, is one way, right? Everything is made out of Silicon Valley, your Facebooks, your Instagrams, everything. So it's just made for and exported out to the outside world for consumption, and particularly in Africa. But you don't hear of technology being created out in the continent of Africa for global consumption. There's none, right? And we said, what if we create something straight from Africa, designed and created and packaged in Africa to be consumed? Or even just going further, it says having to have young African-American men of color and women of color create this product and push it out there for the global consumption. I think it'll be quite a feat. And we've started that roadmap, right? Thankfully, there's a lot of folks in a lot of hands, and a lot of people in different communities in Africa and here in Seattle as well, who are lending a hand and building this platform. So I think that by the end of the year, we can rightfully say that it's 100% made in Africa or by African Americans and Black-owned. It's just going to be a beautiful thing, and I think it's worth making history in that regard.
Yeah, definitely worth making industry in that regard. Because, I mean, when we think about, as you just mentioned, when we think about the computer industry, we think about Silicon Valley. And, of course, there's the new kind of Silicon Valley that is here in our Research Triangle Park area. But I don't see why that couldn't be, if there's not already, some Silicon Valleys popping up out of Africa where you have, like, a series of several businesses that are, like, say, a Google that's like an African-type Google company, whatever that might be, or an African Cree, which deals with the LED lights and things of that nature. But it could be different kinds of businesses that can be created in that kind of model, because those are becoming very popular. I know that in another town that's a lot smaller than the Durham area, and even smaller than Raleigh, called Rocky Mount, they're building like these kind of like industry parks and things of that nature. So you have all these kind of things, and why that can be created in the various countries in Africa. Because that's the other thing. There's a lot of times our children forget that they speak of Africa as if it's a one entity or one unified thing, but Africa is actually several countries that are all different types of countries. I mean, there's everything from, I believe, predominantly Muslim countries, predominantly Christian countries, to countries that are different styles of nature. I mean, you might have something that's a little bit more Sahara nature and a little bit more, something that's a little bit more desert oriented. So there's all kinds of vastness in the continent. But sometimes when we're so busy talking about our brothers in Africa and talking about things in Africa, a lot of times the conversation, even among adults, it makes it sound like it's almost one big unified continent. And yes, it is a continent, and it's not just a country. I mean, it's not one country, there's several countries, but sometimes you talk to people, you would hear them thinking that it's all one entity. And, they speak of Africa as if it's one entity, but it's not that at all.
Right, exactly. And you'll be surprised. It's easy. It's you get to you go to like northern part of Africa. You see some Arab brothers and sisters out there, and they're African, right? And you go to southern part of Africa, and you go to Sudan, and you see some dark skinned folks. Everybody's different. I mean, we the continent is so rich in cultures, man. It's just amazing. And and it's wherever you go, there's so much diversity in foods. Everything, man. It's a great place. But it's the same thing. As I said again, we see a unique opportunities to bring and to bridge the kinship between African Americans and the continent of Africa. And for the first time, as I said again, through our brand and through our initiatives here in the U.S. and as well as the continent, I think that we're definitely we're excited to be in this position and very super humble for the support and the continuous support.
Cool. And one of the things I was going to ask, and then I want to bring in the other guest. I think we had another guest that just called in because I heard the bell. But is if somebody was a driver, say they were a driver for one of them other competitors, like I said, I was talking to my friend earlier today, and I told him I was going to be talking to you and your new model of this tremendous amount of percentage. So if, say, I don't know if you're in the Carolinas yet, or if you're even in New Jersey where Dean is, but if you're not in those states, or if you are having intentions of going to those states, and somebody wanted to get in touch with you to be a driver, what is the process? I know that with the others, there's like a whole application process that you do online on their website and everything, but do you have that same model? Would they go to moving.com and then apply to be a driver? How does the driver becoming a driver work with the model?
They can go to moving.com and apply to become a driver. And right about now is that you can register to become a driver through our application, or you can just do that through the website. Everything is ready-made. And one of the things that we're looking at is that we're looking at registrations and see where we're getting the most hits from. And that's usually kind of helps us spell as far as and start creating marketing strategies. Like, okay, we're seeing a lot of hits coming in from the consumer and the driver end, and being able to pair that or that demand and saying, okay, well, we need to move on. So this towards the end of the year, we're looking at pushing another 5 cities here in the United States, and then particularly on the airport side of our operations as well. So definitely the Carolinas. And I think there's a great need. And where we're growing about now is we're scaling. We're starting to find that there's a constraint, especially when you're dealing with competitors who are, have expanded to many, many cities. So we just don't want to be a one app, one city, right? We want to be able to know that, man, you're coming out to Seattle, you can use Movin'. You're going to Africa, you can use Movin'. And you're going to Carolinas, you can use Movin'. And that's usually one of the biggest advantages of, this model is that you can just turn it on wherever, in any city or whatsoever, and get going. So, I think that there's anybody who wants to drive, they can just go to moving.com or just go on the app, download the app and the driver app and register, and we'll get them going.
And is it the same thing for